This is episode 179 of the Campus Comics Cast, and here is the roll call of whether or not we survived the great Facebook logout of 2024. Scott Reed, marked as safe.
Mike Atchison, marked as safe.
Shad Schubert, and I guess I'm marked as safe too. I'm not sure.
And in this episode, we are covering the March 2024 pre-orders for items generally shipping in May. But first, I think it would be appropriate to mention the passing of another comic book legend. I think it occurred on February 24th, but I may be off on the date. But Ramona Fradon, who was, of course, an early artist on Aquaman. She was the first, my understanding, the first woman to actually ever draw a Wonder Woman. Creator of Metamorpho, was still working in comics up until
at least the last few, ago, she retired,
last year or so. But she passed away on, like I said, again, I think the date is February 24th.
You're right.
Okay.
At age 97.
Right. So I know, Mike, you probably had the most familiarity with her work. I don't know, anything you want to add or say?
I really loved her work. I think my first exposure to her work was in Super Friends, because she drew the vast majority of those issues. But I also found in later years all the work that she did in Adventure Comics on the Aquaman strip or series. She did Metamorpho, Plastic Man. She had a very dynamic, that cartoonish style is overused, but as a descriptor. But she had a style that was very unique and probably underappreciated for a lot of years. And interestingly enough, she really came to the forefront in comic fandom, to people being known as the woman that's been around for 50 plus years, and she's still going to cons and doing drawings and things for people, and very friendly. And I wish I would have been able to meet her, but it's sad, but it sounds like it's almost a reason to celebrate that she had such a great career, and that there's so many people that are pointing that out.
Yeah, I think it was in Super Friends where she became the first woman to actually draw Wonder Woman in that comic. Yes. So,
And if I may, I don't know if we even talked about it last month for our previews or our next phase reviews, but she, in the March, maybe it would have been 2 months ago, but in the March issues of some of the DC comics, she did some variant covers for women in comic, or it's not women in comics, but Women's History Month. So I wish I would have known. I'm still going to try to pick a few of them up if they're not too hard to get, but I forget which titles they were in, but I remember seeing that, but I didn't mention it 2 months ago.
All right. Well, I guess anybody have anything else they want to talk about news-wise before we jump into the catalog?
Not on my side.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, let's start with the next phase catalog. I'll go ahead and mention on page 6, we got Project Cryptid issue number 9. And this was supposed to be Ahoy's first ongoing book, and now it's a 12-issue series. So just at least that's my understanding anyway. They don't actually say that it's a 12-issue series here in the description, but I believe I saw that it's going to be a 12-issue series. And this one has the Yeti and the Puka? Or something like that. I'm not sure what the Puka is, but the Yeti I am somewhat familiar with.
I just haven't met you, Yeti.
Yes, no puns there at all. So my next thing's on page 10.
I'm not until DC.
Yeah, wow. I'm pretty deep into the image or the next phase myself. So.
Oh, okay.
124.
I felt pretty good because I've got I'm close to 2 pages of notes on this catalog set, which before I was just going to be right around a page, maybe just bump over a couple lines onto the next page. So I was pretty happy to have a little bit more going on here. But you also have on page 10, this is from AWA. This is Death Ratioed, written by Mark Russell, and it's set in a world where basically social media kind of has taken over everything. There really aren't any governments. You just have to be nice to everybody, and you get thumbed up or thumbed down. And if you're thumbed down too frequently, you have a collar that's placed around your neck, which blows your head off. Now it's very similar to a Black Mirror episode from the Netflix series where you kind of had the social media thumbs up, thumbs down like thing. Not quite to the extreme here. You're just more ostracized than destroyed. So I'm not sure what I think as far as it being very original, but they did give us like 3 or so pages of artwork and dialogue. So it wasn't terrible what I saw. Mark Russell can sometimes be a little over the top on some of his things, but it might be worth giving a shot.
Yeah, he can be a little bit dark. And I was going to mention this, but I think I had it earmarked in the previews catalog because I found it there as well. But,
okay.
I think it's a cool premise. It's probably used more often than, it's just because that's our status quo these days, is social media is so pervasive in society. So it's interesting. It will be interesting to see how Mark Russell will maybe make connections with the acceptance or being ostracized with the reality of that in today's world. Even though, we don't have collars around our necks, but there are serious implications for especially younger folks that are just, they're trying to impress people they shouldn't have to worry about. And when they get, they get bullied around, it can have really dire results. So I'll probably pick this up just to see how deep it gets.
So I'm into DC now, page 35.
I'd like to talk about on page 124.
So you got 124 of which catalog?
This is the next phase.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm
DC's first.
Yeah, DC's first. Right. Yeah.
Yep. Sorry about that. Yeah.
That's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So, all right. So page 35, which I think is the first page of the DC catalog, if you're actually looking at the actual DC catalog, we got Batman 147. Zur's still around, but the actual reason why I'm mentioning this book is apparently, and I'm assuming when they say him and his new sidekick, I assume they're talking about Zur getting a sidekick. So there's a new Robin analog apparently going to be introduced here in Batman issue number 147. And then 36, you have The Boy Wonder. This is a 5-issue series written and drawn by Junie Baugh.
That's how I say it. I don't
know. All right. Thank you for a little, Lisa. Sounds right to me.
Yeah.
The thing I don't know about is how quickly does somebody become a visionary is what I would like to know. So this is only like their third maybe comic book series.
Yeah, I think it's their third. Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember there's like something. Oh, I looked it up and now I've forgotten. Like meat.
Monkey Meat. Yeah.
Yeah. That was it. Yeah.
They did something I think on TKO before that, but Monkey Meat was an Image book. I picked that up. And the art was strong for the style that he does, or they do. I didn't like the story. I thought it was a little all over the place, and it may be one of those things where this creator does a lot better with licensed stuff than their own creator-owned, left to their own devices type thing, because I actually am a little excited to see what he does. Yes, exactly. Yeah, yes.
And 39 is my next thing.
I'm not till 75.
Okay, so I'm just going to mention Batman and Robin number 9. Not that there was anything special going on here, but I thought this was supposed to be an 8-issue series, and we're getting issue 9 solicited. So apparently I guess it's not an 8-issue series. I guess it's an ongoing. So there's that. Page 45. And this is really more just kind of a question, I think, than anything else. But we have Outsiders number 7. It's got one of those nice title redacted blurbs on it. And I guess there's 2 questions. Is one, the Batman on the right-hand side. That cannot be just the regular DC Batman. Is this like an alternate Earth Batman? What's going on there with this Batman?
What page
'Cause
is
he
that
just-
on again?
So it's on page 45 of Next Phase, page 11 of the
Yeah.
DC Connect catalog. And his ears are just completely wrong. And it's just, I'm just
Yeah.
like not for sure what version of Batman this is supposed to be. And then on top of that, since I don't read Outsiders, does anybody have any suggestion of who's missing from the cover as to who it is that's probably the quote unquote character that has died?
Well, I've been reading this, and
Who's missing? Can you tell who's missing? I'm putting you
No.
on the spot, I know. So
Because
you don't have
the
to
main
answer,
there's
but-
the woman in the middle that's sort of cradling the
Mm-hmm.
silhouetted body. She's a new character, or at least new to me. I forget her name. But other one, I mean, you've got Luke Fox, it's Luke Fox. It's the main. He's sort of the leader of the team, and Batwoman. That's the only two I knew. But I've only read 3 issues of it, so a lot must have happened in the last
okay.
few issues.
Well, this is probably 2 issues out, and you probably haven't received, the last couple. So it's just kind of so maybe there's something big happening. So
I don't know. Yeah, I know they explore all kinds of places that no one else can explore.
is that like this? I'm gonna call her the second Power Girl. Is that the second Power Girl there on the left? Because I know that they introduced another Power Girl, and I think it was in, I don't know where she was introduced, but it's such a small, and the costume has definitely changed. Again, Mike, I'm sorry for putting you on the spot. I just was curious.
Man, I am totally failing because I can't tell what her emblem is on her shirt.
Well, she's in the background, and it's unless you're gonna zoom in big time, it's tough to read. So you don't have to worry about it. I was just curious to see if you actually knew. So my
I
next
don't
thing
see anyone on here that I know.
Well, the Batman, whatever.
Well,
whichever,
yeah, I know.
Whichever
He's got-
Batman that might be.
Mhm.
It looks like he's got a robot or armored Batman with him. Now up at the
Well,
top,
I assume the Batman, the armored one is like the New 52, where like Gordon kind of took on.
right.
could be, yeah.
That's what I was kind of thinking there with the Bat
Yeah.
armor suit. But
It's hard to say. Now, if you look at the 4 that are at the top on the up on
Mhm.
that ledge, those look like
Kid
challengers
Flash.
of the unknown
Oh.
symbols.
Okay, the one in yellow kind of looked like Kid Flash to
He
me.
does, but look at the symbols look
Yeah.
like challengers. So I think they're on a whole nother earth, and that's why we don't know crap about this.
That would make sense. I'm
And then
zooming in now just because. Okay, and now it's definitely not Kid Flash because it's actually, I think that emblem is actually on his chest. So the one that I thought had like the yellow shirt, that's actually his skin.
Yeah.
And he just has the emblem on his chest. So that's what kind of threw me off. And it's not really, the hair's more brownish than reddish. So yeah. Okay.
Now I'm gonna have to get caught up on that, and I'll explain it all to you next time.
That's right. Okay. We'll hold you to that. So
Right.
my
I
next
got-
thing's 52.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I just thought this was a fun cover. So it's I gotta get there. Sorry. It's I think it's World's Finest. I'm going off of memory here. Yeah, the World's Finest one where you have all the mites. So you've got like Riddler mite and Bane mite and Brainiac mite and Joker mite and Lex Luthor mite, and so it's like the Legion of Doom mites.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just think this cover's fun. So it's
Yeah.
just kind of cracks me up just a little bit. Hey, and there's a girl on the cover. What do you know?
I like the Captain Cold one there. That's I didn't really look through this very closely, but the
Sinestro, Cheetah, Catwoman,
Black Manta,
Yeah.
little Brainiac.
It's just all over the place. There's like, is that the Jester, the one to the left of Joker's head? Is that?
Well, that's Mxyzptlk.
To the
Oh no, that's a Riddler.
no. Well, no. So it's between Riddler and Joker. got
Oh,
yellow-
I don't
Yeah,
know.
yellow eyes.
Yeah, with
black-
the you can see one little
Yeah,
tassel.
there's so many
on his head.
layers.
but it could
Yeah.
be a jester type. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now we got to read that too.
Okay, yeah, I got Joker fish. I mean, it's just penguin. It's all over the place, man. It's all there. It's
And
all
these
there.
little stories are deceptively. They're meant to be cutesy on the outside, but you get into them, and these imps are some mean sons of guns. Yeah.
But I just thought that cover was worth pointing out. I really dug that cover. So
Yeah.
all right, Mike, I'm gonna put you on the spot again on page 55.
55.
55. So you got Flash number 9.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at the white dots on the blue glove here. Is that supposed to be Metron? But the rest of the costume does not look like Metron, so that's just kind of what's throwing me here is that some other character that's been introduced here into DC? But man, the white dots sure look like Metron to me. Don't
Certainly
they?
looks like a Kirby-ish design, but you're right. You've got Metron doesn't have I mean, what you do see of the face is it looks like a cowl with the mouth part open. That's definitely not a Metron look. And then
his whole face is open, at least classic.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Okay. Yeah, the dots, the blue glove with the white dots, that's 100% Metron looking there.
Yeah.
So, and then page 59.
Let me stop you at 58.
Okay. All right.
With the Titans. I caught my eye that what appears to be, in the blurb, it says Titans against themselves. And the cover, or at least the cover art, shows what appears to be a Titans version of Amazo.
Mm-hmm.
Got the composite creature or android possibly that has all the powers of the Titans, and I thought that would be interesting to see how that would play out. But go ahead with 59.
So 59, Blue Beetle number 9. Just going to mention a new character, potentially hero, being introduced. It doesn't really give us any details. Just say that Victoria Cord's new superhero is giving Jaime a run for his money. So, and there the little blurb at the top, meet Victoria Cord's new superhero. So, new character alert in issue 9 of Blue Beetle.
On the next page, I only want to mention that I've been buying Green Arrow, and up until now, I guess they were not anticipating it being more than just a mini series, but they have a big blurb on this solicitation saying it's now an ongoing series. And I've enjoyed it, so I think it's earned that status upgrade.
I'm actually done with DC at this point. So, anything else?
DC? I've got on page 71. We have a couple of facsimile editions that, since I probably will never get the originals, Military Comics number 1, which features the first Blackhawk and his squadron, first appearance of them. And you also have Our Army at War number 81. That is the first appearance of Sergeant Rock and the Easy Company. So that, I mean, $3.99, sure, I'll get them.
On page 75, just wanted to mention, if you don't already own the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow series, there is a deluxe edition with some behind-the-scenes artwork and never before published alternative script for issue 6, which is not the finale, so it's just I guess there's maybe some deleted scenes in there or something. But looks like a nice presentation if you wanted to own that and hadn't already gotten that.
I do, and I will, Shad, because that's what I was going to say, is that I think I mentioned when we reviewed this story months ago, or over a year ago maybe, that if it ever came out, in a nice collection, especially of a hardcover, I would for sure get it, and that's what I'm going to do.
And that's what I'm going to do. Then my last thing in DC is on page 78 is the Batman and Robin Adventures Omnibus. So if you were a fan of the animated series and the comic kind of tie-ins to that, here is a collection of all of the different bits and pieces of the Batman and Robin Adventures series that was tied to all that in one 904-page omnibus.
Light reading.
Just some light reading, absolutely.
I don't have anything after DC until Image on page 124.
Okay. I got 102 in Distillery. And that is One for Sorrow by Jamie McKelvey. I love Jamie McKelvey artwork. I don't know if I've ever read anything that Jamie McKelvey has written, but he is doing both on this one. And it says his first solo creator-owned project in over a decade. But this just seemed like a cool premise of a supernatural murder mystery about the magpie, who's a murderer who kills at random and leaves a feather at the murder scene, set in London in the 1900s. And so the only thing is, the 1900s aren't super crazy for me, but I'm down for a murder mystery. So I might check this one out.
Yeah, I had that earmarked as well, that One for Sorrow. What story did we review where there was a similar looking character with the crow skull?
Oh gosh, I gotta go look at the picture just to see.
It's on
102.
Page 102.
I'd already scrolled down to 124, so I'm having to. Oh, well, that's just kind of like that common. And I forget. It was like a medical
Like
thing, like during the
doctor,
time
yeah.
of the plague, right?
Okay.
But I'm.
There was a story that we reviewed together that had a character like that, and I can't remember. Was it the Black Barn, maybe, or I don't know. It's bugging me though.
Oh, you mean Gideon Falls?
Yeah, Gideon Falls. Yeah.
Gideon Falls, maybe. I don't really remember that in Gideon Falls. I'm trying to think if there was something like that in.
What was the Native American one?
Oh, where they went, like the
Black Skies.
Black Skies falling or something. Yeah.
I think it was Black Stars Above.
Black Stars Above.
Yeah, I don't. Now I see that nose, I'm like, I think of BioShock is what I think of.
Oh.
You have a bunch of crazies running around who have those masks on and stuff like that. So.
Gotcha.
So that's all my brain can latch onto at the moment.
Okay, so now we're in Image, right?
Yes, 124 Image. We have Ain't No Grave, written by Scotty Young, art by Jorge Corona. This is a Western style book. I am not generally a Scotty Young fan, but I did read this little intro, and I don't know, it kind of worked for me. And when you get to this last little panel where you have the who appears to be the protagonist, where she's having a flashback, and at the end of the flashback she's coughing up blood, and then that's where it ends on the preview, and I'm like, I want to know what's going on in the next panel. So I guess
yes,
they got me. They 100%
Yes.
got me. Did this exactly right, because now I want to buy this because I want to find out what is going on with this character. And it's just, I don't know, it grabbed me. So and I'm generally not a big fan of Westerns. So
same,
I'm in.
This team's work, the Me You Love in the Dark and Middle West are both fantastic books. So I don't typically grab towards Scotty Young by himself stuff, though I love the Wizard of Oz adaptations he did. But him with Jorge is really good stuff from what they've done in the past for me.
Then I'm actually done with the Next Phase catalog.
I got a few other things.
I'm at 188. What about you, Shed?
I got 138. I got actually a couple things between them.
Okay.
On 138 is the Energon Universe 2024 special number 1, which is the Transformers G.I. Joe Void Rivals kind of annual, I guess, that they're doing. So they say this is a good jumping on point. None of them have gone too far in, so I don't know what you would need a jumping on point for. Just go get a number 1 and go from there. But
Well, it's a reprint, right, of the Free Comic Book Day from last year.
oh, is it? Okay.
Yes, yeah.
I did not pay attention to that.
Ah,
Dang it.
sorry. It's okay. I didn't mean to
That's all right.
doubles.
I'm glad you're keeping me going, keep me corrected. And then 140 is a book called Grommets, co-written by Rick Remender and Brian Posehn. It's a book about two friends in the 80s in the skate/punk rock scene. It doesn't seem to have any weird hooks to it. It's just a book about kids in the 80s. And I think that's kind of refreshing because it seems like every time they do something like this, it's like, and then there's aliens, or they forgot what they're doing. So just having a book about life as kids in the 80s is, I think, a kind of a cool book that we don't see often in somewhat mainstream. I feel like we get those in the deep indie publishers, but Image isn't typically picking up something like that.
It's like Stranger Things without the Stranger Things.
Without the stranger, yeah, it's just it's like they call it normal things.
That's right, normal things.
It's just normal things. 147, we get Lego Ninjago Shatterspin #1. I'm glad they didn't give up on the Lego line, that they did keep going on with it, but I'm hoping that at some point we see something besides Ninjago. This is the secret history of the Ninjago group and how it's all formed, done by the same guy who did the first series. So, like I said, I hope the best for it, just because I hope that they continue with that Lego license that Image has. And then my last thing in Image is on 149 is a original graphic novel called The Singularity, which is a concept. It's a book that's tied to a concept album by an artist named Bear McCreary, and Bear does he does like the scores for the like the Star Wars TV shows and The Walking Dead, Masters of the Universe. So he has his own solo album that he's putting out, and this is the book that is going along with his concept album. It's about a man who continues to be reborn and learns lessons and loss every time he kind of goes through a different section of his life. So it seems like a pretty cool concept, and I'm a sucker for a concept album tied to a comic book anytime. So I'm definitely into this one.
Okay, so it says media tie-in. What? So that to me implies there's something else out there. TV.
I think that'd be the album. That would.
You just think it's the album? Okay.
Yeah.
I just figured it would be something more than that, more than just a. So you don't think that there's also going to be a TV show or anything initially? It's just the album?
Not that I've heard.
Okay.
Yeah, I listened to some interviews and everything, and it seemed to be that it was the album and the comic book together.
Okay. I guess albums count as media. I just usually don't think of.
Yeah, I feel like you're discounting the work that it takes to create music and record it, Scott.
Well, no, but I mean, there's generally not like a story inside of an album. Usually, I imagine an album as being 8 to 12, not necessarily related musical pieces.
We'll talk about another concept album that's got a comic book in previews for this month.
Okay.
Later on.
Glad you
I don't know. I've listened to a lot of Rush albums that they definitely had a concept and a theme and almost a story within, and but that was of its own time. You know, the 70s and 80s, early 80s, maybe you've seen more of it.
There is a Rush comic book called Clockwork Angels that I own. That is a series that goes along with the Rush album.
Cool. Well, then I guess I'm next at page 188 with Universal Monsters Dracula hardcover. I don't know if this came out before in a individual series. Okay, well, I am just now seeing it, or at least paying attention to it. But I maybe it's because I've been reading more work by James Tynion IV, such as World Tree and Something's Killing the Children and all that. But this is basically a basic take on Dracula. So I don't know how anyone, what kind of reviews it got in single issues, but might be interested to read this. I wonder if Mike would like to read it. Mike, no.
So they are doing apparently all of the Universal monsters.
Yeah.
And you'll also see Creature from the Black Lagoon is also solicited in this catalog as well, but it's issue number 2. So I actually didn't mention it because we talked about issue 1 last time. So
Yeah, I did see that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, I've already sort of mentioned it, but it was World Tree, and it was more to ask you, Scott. Have you continued reading that? Have you read any of it?
I have yet to start it. I told myself I was going to read it before the first arc ended, and I did not even start it. So now I've already bought several issues into the second story arc. So I'm at least going to go through the second story arc. I keep meaning to pick it up, and I can see the box that it's in right there. And every time I get it every month, I get a new issue, and it's like I haven't read I think they're like have like the first 9 now.
Right.
So I don't remember. Ours 9 was solicited this month. I don't know. I have several.
10 is solicited this month.
All right.
It's
so
also written by James Tynion, and the art's good. It's definitely mature readers. There's one particular character that just basically she's one of the main antagonists. She walks around nude for most of the first few issues I've read. It's not like gratuitous or anything, but think computer version of, you remember the old horror movie The Ring, where you put in the VCR tape, and think that it's got something like that going on. So
no, I
found it to be pretty good.
I thought the premise was really, really interesting. And I've been buying it, and I am not a huge James Tynion IV fan, and I'm still picking this up just because of the computer tie-in kind of with it.
Yeah.
So I really do need to sit down and read that.
Hold on to your issues, because Tynion just launched a production company that includes movies and TV and everything. So because he's got a lot of media projects beyond comics, I'm assuming that some of his projects are going to get picked up for something bigger.
I have multiple copies of like
Something's Killing
Department
Children.
of Truth. I did not get on to Something Is Killing the Children. I missed that one, which was obviously the biggest mistake. But Department of Truth, World Tree,
House of Slaughter,
House of Slaughter, because it's tied into.
It's sort of a spin-off or prelude to.
It doesn't really count, as
you got
first.
The Nice House on the Lake.
Yeah, which was just
Nice House on the Lake.
Sorry, Mike, it was just okay.
You read it, but you just thought it was just okay?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, not to digress, but I'm going to digress. The artwork, I could not differentiate some of the characters based on the artwork because it's that very scratchy looking art.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, I don't know which of these 13, 14 main characters, this is actually at this moment. So, and then of course there's this whole he makes people forget, and then all of a sudden like he's in the group and then he's out of the group, and it was just maybe I could understand it better if I read it again, but it's not like I was like just,
I know what you're saying, because they introduce all 10 of the quote unquote chosen ones basically in the first issue. They were all people that had an impact on him at some point in his life, whether it was in high school, college, whatever. And he chose them for a reason. I don't want to give any kind of spoilers here, but it does sort of give you that drinking from the fire hose thing. And the art doesn't help a bunch because the distinctions aren't absolutely clear. You have to, it's like reading or watching Game of Thrones if you haven't read Game of Thrones, because you got so many characters to keep up with. So anyway, I liked it, and you might like it better if you read it again. But anyway, we got off on that tangent, but it's a good one, I thought.
I'm done with Next Phase. You guys just keep going on Next Phase until you wrap her up.
I'm done as well.
I've got 2 things. On page 234 is a book called Sherlock Holmes and the Doctor Was Not. And this is a trade paperback, and it is a bunch of stories of Sherlock Holmes with someone besides Dr. Watson. So they pair him up with Dr. Jekyll, Dr. Van Helsing, Doc Holliday, and it's just a weird kind of anthology of Holmes with other doctors. And one of the writing credits is Denny O'Neil, so I don't know when he wrote that story, but I thought that was interesting that he was one of the writers listed on there. But just a weird concept that I thought was like, oh, I've never seen that done before. Then 275, if I can get to it, is a book called Burning Maid, and this is issue 1, and it is a horror story about Joan of Arc seeking revenge from the grave, about obviously being burned at the stake.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. I like a good Joan of Arc story. So
historical horror. I did not. I missed that whenever I was going through. That does look kind of interesting. I wonder how many. Does it say how many issues it's going to be, or is it a one shot?
No, I wish it did though.
Yeah, I'd like to know if it was a one shot. I'd almost certainly pick it up, but I can't imagine.
Yeah, what kind of? Yeah.
I can't imagine it'd be a one shot. It's got to be a limited series, but it would be nice to know if it's 4 issues, 12 issues.
Most of Scouts are like 4 or 5, I think, because you'll see like there's
Children of the Grave next to
issue
it
1 through 5.
All 5 issues. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I see anything go past 5 with Scout.
Okay.
So I think it's a pretty safe bet that it's a 5 issue.
I gotta write that down. I'm gonna make a note at the end of my notes about Burning Maid. Burning Maid from Scout. All right, got the note. Okay.
All right.
Marvel, or you got anything else? You said you had 2 more things, right?
No, that was it. I did all.
Oh, that was the second thing. Okay, I'm sorry. I will pay better attention. So
I had the Sherlock Holmes and the.
That's right, and the Burning Maid. So page 1, we have the crossover. This was mentioned last month. We have Blood Hunt, which is going to be a 5-issue series. Apparently, it's going to take 2.5 months to get through this because they're doing looks like 2 issues a month. The only thing I find somewhat interesting about this series is that they're doing a red band edition, which is polybagged because it contains additional pages of unexpurgated material that are too explicit for the regular edition. So there you go.
I'm guessing a lot of blood. I'm just guessing they're just going to go
blood,
over the top.
Decapitations, stakes through hearts. When you have a character, when you have Union Jack the Ripper as one of the titles for the month, it does make you wonder, about the seriousness of this series. Though I do like that Union Jack the Ripper. That's kind of a nice play there. So
I like how they include as one of the spin-offs or one of the associated issues is Blood Hunters #1. I'm sorry, it's I guess is that the name of the primary series?
Blood Hunt. Yeah.
Oh no, this is Blood Hunters, but it's basically
that's a spin-off. Yeah.
It's Hawkeye and Dagger. So what better
and Manwolf
have than Dagger in a vampire?
Yeah, and Manwolf. Don't forget.
Yeah, and Manwolf too.
Just to give you trivia, PTSD, Mike.
Right. I was happy to get Bleecker Street right.
Let's see. My next thing's on 18.
I'm not till 24.
Yeah, I'm up to 36.
All right, so page 18, we have Amazing Spider-Man issue number 50. Green Goblin is back. I did not know that the Green Goblin was ever gone, but he's back again. Additionally, we have some backup stories from Chris Claremont. I'm sorry, Marv Wolfman. Marv Wolfman's doing a backup story here inside of Amazing Spider-Man number 50. And a pretty cool cover by Greg Capullo.
Yes. Maybe Green Goblin was off being Gold Goblin.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's right. There was
like
Gold Goblin. And then 23, we have Venom Separation Anxiety 5-issue series. I don't normally talk about Venom, but here we have Dave Michelinie, who is the creator of the character, returning to the character after, who knows how long. So I thought that was worth pointing out for Venom fans. Wonder if he's going to lean into the new stuff or if it's going to be more of a take on his original version.
Why does it say "Long Live the King in Purple"?
I do not know. All thing I can come up with is, they had the whole King in Black for
Yeah.
a while. I don't know what the significance of King in Purple is.
Okay.
So I will do a little research because my next thing's on 28. You got anything for 28?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I got
knew
24.
Okay.
24 is just Deadpool and Wolverine World War III, 3-issue miniseries that I think will be on the shelves for the movie, surprisingly. So I'm always feel like we should take notice of when they actually do plan things out accordingly, that something will be on the shelves according to a movie, and not the other way around where they'd have nothing on the shelves whatsoever for the character.
with a variant cover by Rob Liefeld, the soon-to-be retired Rob Liefeld.
With
Oh,
no
really?
feet.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
All right.
I doubt that sticks.
Yeah. Well, the King in Purple is because Venom is apparently going to go up against Zebediah Kilgrave, who is the notorious Purple Man.
Aha.
So that's apparently, assuming that the random page that I ended up on while searching for King in Purple Venom is accurate. So
All right.
28. So you have Doom #1. In this one, Dr. Doom is going to team up with Valeria Richards, and they're going to go attempt to stop Galactus from destroying the universe. Written by Jonathan Hickman. I want to say that this maybe is a tie-in to the Gods series that Hickman has going or just wrapped up, though it does not say that it is a Gods tie-in. It also has a variant cover by George Perez of Galactus.
Yeah.
This is just a one-shot.
Yeah, that might be worth picking up.
Then I'm at 92.
Oh.
I'm
On
at
page
84.
37, where are you at, Chad?
84.
Okay, page 37, we have Get Fury, #1 of 5-issue series, and this is written by Garth Ennis, and he's in his home territory of war comics. This is set in 1971, and Nick Fury has been captured by the Viet Cong. And you got art by Jason Burrows, which I can't say that I know much about that person, but anyway, anybody that likes Garth Ennis and likes war comics, you're going to get your little dose of it here with this miniseries. And then I got on the very next, if you turn to page, I guess page 38, Scott, it's Giant Size X-Men #1.
Yes.
What?
How many Giant Size X-Men #1?
I know, that's what I was
There
going to
should
ask
only be
you.
one, and I think this is the third Giant Size X-Men #1.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. I mean, how many times are they going to do this? It throws me off.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You've answered it before I could even get the question out. Good job.
There's at least, of course we have the Giant Size X-Men.
Yeah.
And I think they've done that once before. So this is like Giant Size X-Men #1, Volume 3, I think is what that
Gosh. Oh, heavens. Okay. I'll shut up.
No, you don't have to. You're allowed to continue speaking. I think you're before me. I'm 92, so.
Okay, 84 is the Star Wars Phantom Menace 25th Anniversary Special #1, which appears
the
to
book
just
that
be
nobody asked for.
No, they didn't. But I will tell you that I am planning on going to see it in theaters when it comes out in May. So
really, okay.
I don't know why. I was a kid when it came out. Yeah. I was what, 12 when it came out, so I can't help it.
I went and saw it at midnight, opening night, whenever it came out. Yes. So just
this appears to be deleted scenes, as they could have called this their version of they've inserted deleted scenes into the movie essentially. Is it? Which I'll read, absolutely. I'm here for it. I'm gonna be disappointed, but I'll read it.
Well, they had even the original Star Wars comics have quote unquote deleted scenes because in the comics,
that's what.
yeah, they have like the whole thing with like Biggs back on Tatooine, and
Mhm.
him. I think it even has him seeing the battle. He's on Luke's on Tatooine, seeing the battle in space and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I may be
that was
mixing up my NPR special with my comic books,
right.
but yeah, but there's definitely
Yeah,
stuff
well,
in
and
the comic that wasn't in
in
the movie.
when they did Force Awakens and Last Jedi, they included some of those deleted scenes in for the comic book adaptation of it, and I was so disappointed when they decided not to do a comic book adaptation of the last Sky. What's the last one called? Something Skywalker.
I've blocked it out of my memory.
It's gone completely.
Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I read the novelization, and there's some pretty cool deleted scenes that were actually taken out of the movie, unfortunately. And I was hoping to see them in comic book form, and they never did a comic book adaptation of Rise of Skywalker. So, buy Phantom Menace 25th anniversary if you want to. And the 125 is my last one.
Okay, so I got a couple things before that. Page 92, you have the Godzilla omnibus. So I guess to go hand in hand with ROM and Micronauts, they are busting out all the Marvel Years stuff. And anytime I am selling comics at a convention, I will have somebody ask for the Marvel Godzilla series. I can never keep it around. I was at a show last weekend, had two people asking for Godzilla. It's a constant. So here we have, I believe, the entire 24 issue series for Godzilla in a single omnibus. And then page 94, we have Micronauts Volume 2 hardcover. Three different covers. There's a Bob Layton cover, there's a Gil Kane cover, and then the one that I will be ordering is the Michael Golden cover for Micronauts Volume 2, which will wrap up the first volume of Micronauts, and then we will hopefully get the Volume 3, which has the new voyages, which takes place after the initial run. And then I'm done with Marvel.
All right, I got on 125 is the X-Men the Animated Series Feared and Hated graphic novel. So if you are wanting to get yourself caught up on all things X-Men TV related before X-Men 97 drops, I can't remember if it's out already or not, but this would be issues 1 through 8 of the 1992 X-Men Adventures, which is part of the animated series, kind of spin off out of there. So.
Actually, on page 119, a couple pages back, I did have earmarked the new X-Men Modern Era Epic Collection, and it's the Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely, Ethan Van Sciver, et cetera, et cetera. I sold most of these issues. I bought them off the shelf whenever they came out, and I've sold them since. But seeing this collection, which has issues 114 through 126 and annual 2001, for $45, it kind of makes me want to pick it up.
That's a really popular run of X-Men. That's another book that people ask for all the time is the Grant Morrison new X-Men stuff. So
yeah,
and of course he introduces a lot of characters. I think right now the Negasonic Teen Warhead is introduced in that run, and with the Deadpool movie coming up, I think that's what a lot of people are looking for is that first appearance. So
right.
All right, pull box. The other
Plus.
stuff. All right, so let's start with Boom first, since it's the last of the big publishers on the pull box side. I'll go with we got Crocodile Black #1. It's a 5-issue series from Philip Kennedy Johnson about a man who basically witnesses a crime and it makes him want to commit crime. And I guess the thing is that they were in a kind of a pandemic, apocalyptic type of a world setting. So the Philip Kennedy Johnson is probably the more interesting part of this book from Boom.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I had that picked as well.
Okay, anything you want to add then?
No, I just I like the premise. I like Philip Kennedy Johnson's work on. He's been on Action Comics. He's currently writing, I think, Incredible Hulk, and also writing. Oh, doggone it! Something else with DC. But anyway, I like his writing. It's really good, and this guy's he's in the army, and I've listened to an interview with him, and it's pretty amazing how much he tries to ration his time out between his service to the country and to writing comics, and it's a lot of juggling.
You got anything from Boom, Shad?
Yeah. This is the other concept album tie-in is the Amory Wars No World for Tomorrow issue 1. This is the long-awaited follow-up to the Good Apollo Burning Star 4 Volume 1. The Amory Wars is a series that is co-written by Claudio Sanchez, who is the lead singer of the band Coheed and Cambria. And so Coheed and Cambria every album has a story tied to it and has since the beginning. And so it's been a long time since they've picked up. I mean, I think Volume 1 came out probably close to 15 years ago, I would say at this point. So there's been a long kind of gap between stories at this point. But this is a return to the story of the main character Claudio, and which is, yes, he named his own main character after himself. And the story of that, for fun fact, Claudio in the story, his parents are Coheed and Cambria, which is where the name of the band comes from. And that is all I've got to tell you about that.
And I'm going to 100% embarrass myself by saying I read this as Armory Wars, not Amory Wars. I got an extra R in there.
Listen, so. I did for the first 5 years.
Okay, good. And I don't have to feel so bad then.
Yeah, it was a long time where I was like, well, there's no R in this. It's just Amory. It isn't. It's
not Armory. It's Amory.
Yes.
I have to question anything where there's apparently a bad guy named General Mayo.
He's the sidekick to
just gonna say
Condiment King,
Colonel Mustard.
Colonel
Mustard. Yeah, Colonel Mustard.
I will also mention we had the final issue, the 12th issue of The Expanse Dragon Tooth. I actually kickstarted this book, but I've also been buying I've been buying it just to have as many of the covers that aren't ridiculously priced as possible. So, but here we get the final issue solicited. So. I read the first few. It's pretty good. I mean, if you're a fan of The Expanse, you'll like it. If you're not a fan of The Expanse, there's nothing in it that's going to pull you in. So it's just more Expanse. So I want a little bit more, and it's giving me a little bit more since it's pretty much done.
Another series that's wrapping up with Boom is Once Upon a Time at the End of the World is ending with issue 15, as it has planned on being all this time. By Jason Aaron, and I read the first 3 or 4 issues of this. And I love it. It's great, and I'm glad that's wrapped up because then I can read it all together at one point now. And if I remember right, they change artists at every 5 issues is a different section of time in the story, and so they get a different artist with each of those 5 issues. So. This wrap up, it looks like they've got all 3 artists are doing work in this book to kind of tell I'm sure some flashbacks throughout it.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've wondered about. I thought I remembered you said you were reading it, but I couldn't remember what your thoughts were. So now that I know, I may have to get the whole run.
It was one of those books where it was good enough that I wanted to keep reading it, but it wasn't good enough to keep buying it. I was like, I don't want to own all of this, but I want to definitely consume all of it.
Yeah. I've got a couple things in Boom, just quick mentions. Briar number 5. Now, I bought the first 4 issues, and I thought it ended last summer. That was like the end of it. I didn't know it was going to be a big break, and then it would resume with an issue 5. But it's by Christopher Cantwell and Alex Lenz, and it's basically Sleeping Beauty, if she's I guess it's Sleeping Beauty. Is it Sleeping Beauty or one of the Disney princesses? But if she was a sword slinging barbarian, basically. So it's kind of fun. But now that I know it's back out, I'll probably pick it up. And then
good on them for keeping the numbering instead of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Starting it with a volume 2. I appreciate that way better.
And
that
now
they
it's
just
listed
picked up
as an
with number
eight.
5.
Yeah, now it's listed as an 8-issue series because it's number 5 of 8.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also earmarked Jim Henson's Labyrinth, and it's issue 2. It's archive issue edition number 2 of 3, and I don't remember seeing this in previous, previews or whatever, or pull box. But it just made me think about that 80s show, and I don't know. Did you ever watch it when you were younger?
It's been a long, long time. I think I've seen it exactly once. And this is actually just a reprint of the Marvel series that
Right, exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can even see by the design, it's literally just like Marvel, yeah. But yeah, that makes me want to go back and watch that show.
Yeah, it has what, David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly, is that right?
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I believe so. That's it for me and Boom.
Anything you forgot to mention in DC or Marvel, either of you, that you want to plug right now? Nope. Okay, so Dynamite. I got one thing. I'm sure probably one of you has this, but America's favorite coast-to-coast talk show host, Space Ghost.
That's the only thing I actually know Space Ghost from. So I never got into actual Space Ghost. I only got into joke Space Ghost. So I was like, all right, whatever.
I remember the original Space Ghost. I don't know how far into Space Ghost's career I actually would have seen something Space Ghost, but it definitely predates the talk show host Space Ghost. But I do, looking at these covers, I really, really dig cover D, which really has that. I think it was, I can't remember if it's Dell or Gold Key, but they had several months of covers like this, where I just that really just feels like the most, authentic cover for Space Ghost comic. So I kind of do dig that cover. So
I agree.
Anything else Dynamite for anybody?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. All right. So I guess we'll just round robin the rest of the book. So Mike, why don't you go first?
Okay. We have Rugrats Bestest Comics trade paperback. This is not in my era of growing up. It's in my daughter's era, and I'm going to buy it so that I either give it to her or someday when she's married and has kids, that she can give it to one of her kids, because got a lot of good memories of those Rugrats episodes, watching them with the kids. So I don't know. It's mostly nostalgia here, but I can still hear the theme song in my head. Dun, 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 dun. Just loved it.
Well, I was at a show last weekend. There was an artist there, I think it's Robert E. Smith, because there's apparently multiple Robert Smiths that have done inking work. And I'd actually met him at a show prior to that, and he did inking work for Codename Kids Next Door.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually had purchased some of his original artwork, because they had this big giant tree house. And then so I actually bought 2 of his pages. So one had the giant tree house on it, and another one had the main 5 characters kind of doing a Beatles Abbey Road walk, where they're So they're just a couple of cool pages that they were there. It was apparently the first time he'd ever sold any of his original art. He usually kept it, so I was kind of in on that ground floor to pick some of that up. So that was kind of cool. Shad, what do you got? Give us something from the back of the book.
Out of Dark Horse, I have the Anansi Boys number 1. Which tells me that they're going to do this in chunks. So the Anansi Boys is following the character Anansi from American Gods. He's also an actual an African god himself. But this is a spinoff of the Neil Gaiman. It's a Neil Gaiman book that they're doing an adaptation for. And the adaptation is being done. The writer is Mark Bernardin, who I follow. He does a podcast with Kevin Smith and does a lot of comic book writing himself. So anything Neil Gaiman, I'm obviously in on. And I have wanted to read this book for forever. I own it. It's on my shelf. But I've never actually read it. So a comic book adaptation where they give me pictures and words together, absolutely. I'm going to read that instead of the actual book that's on my shelf. And they have a David Mack cover, so of course I'm going to definitely be getting that. There wouldn't be a Neil Gaiman book without a David Mack cover at this point, it doesn't seem like. So, yeah, I'm excited about that one.
They don't say anywhere in the solicit that that's part of American Gods. I
Oh,
did not
really? That's
realize.
interesting. Yeah, it's a
'cause
spin-off of that.
I'm looking. I mean, I'm looking through, and they at no point do they say this ties into, um, to American Gods.
And it's a
Nowhere.
loose tie-in because with Anansi being one of the somewhat main characters of American Gods, not like right front and center, but he's there quite a bit. This being a story about his sons, so it's kind of a more of a spin-off, I guess, than it is a sequel in that way.
Okay. So we've got from Band of Bards, we have Coins of Judas the Gambler, issue 1 of 2. This is the second Coins of Judas series. There was another 2-issue series, and I really, the premise is that they are apparently following the coins that were given to Judas Iscariot for the betrayal of Christ. So this is apparently the second of this particular series. So it's another 2-issue. I have the other 2 issues. I'm probably need to read them along with World Tree really soon, so I can see if I want to actually place the order for this book, see how it is. But I like the premise of Coins of Judas, and now I need to make a decision about picking up the second one. With it only being 2 issues, if I don't get around to reading it, I'll probably still go ahead and buy it because it's not a huge commitment.
There wasn't there 30 pieces of silver, so they really should make it a 30-issue series.
Or they could have 30 2-issue series, one covering each coin.
There you go.
So I guess as long as they have ideas that they can fill it out. So or if they run out of ideas, they can always have one person who accumulated more than one. So. All right, Mike, back to you.
Under Ablaze Publishing, we have Marshall Bass, and anyone that's a history buff will know that Marshall Bass was the first black deputy U.S. Marshal, and this is a historical character, and he was around after the Civil War, and I think it's appropriate that that they have something like this. I know this is coming out like after Black History Month, but it's still, the timing's pretty good. And I love history and I love comics when they kind of talk about or tell a story around a historical event. So I'm picking this up.
There was another series, I think it was actually called Bass Reeves, as opposed to Marshall Bass, which is probably why they're calling this one Marshall Bass instead of Bass Reeves. I've forgotten who the creators were on it, but this was a character, or not, I shouldn't say character. This is an individual who I was completely unfamiliar with until that HBO Watchmen series. At that point,
that's where we talked about that. That's right.
Yeah. So
they had the little clips.
The movie reels, was part of that.
Yeah.
So so that's
okay. I knew that was resonating on more than one level with me, and I just couldn't remember.
So I may have to. I missed this, so I'm really glad you pointed that out, because I would like to.
It's $20. I don't know how many pages it is. Doesn't really say, but for $20, it's
got 3 stories.
3 stories, yeah.
Yeah. So that, and especially if it at least tries to be somewhat accurate, I mean, that would be pretty cool. So
yeah,
I'm marking that down as well. So all right, Shad, back to you.
My last one that I've got is out of IDW. It's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Black, White, and Green #1. I can't help but say something about one of these things. It is a series of, you guessed it, black and white stories with a little bit of splash of green in it this time. So it's just a showcase of a few different artists and writers telling some stories, and it doesn't say how many issues it's going to be, but it does say series.
Yes. I had that exact same note, just for the record. I had marked down Anasazi Boys and TMNT Black, White, and Green as well. So, and I did say, I have literally, it says advertises as a series is one of my notes. Well, I guess my last thing then is Beyond Pale from Dark Horse. I'm gonna try to see if I can find that real quick on the page. Here we go. But basically, the premise here is that we have a war correspondent who is looking into it's during the Vietnam War, and there is an area, it's called Firebase Tartarus, where there is a disproportionate number of deaths among black soldiers. So here it's kind of, I guess, like it's not supposed to be realistic, though it may tie into some event that could or could not have actually taken place. I'm not going to pretend to know my history here, but it's obviously fictional because it talks about it being an eldritch horror story. So
Okay.
Beyond the Pale, issue number 1 from Dark Horse looks very, very interesting to me.
Yeah, it does sound good. I'm going to mark that down myself.
And I'm done. What else you got, Mike?
Well, because I expected you to point it out for me if I didn't bring it up. Under Massive, there is a comic or a new series called I Lie Popeye. I is an EYE, lie, LIE, Popeye. And it is a manga take on, or at least manga inspired take on Popeye. And the artwork looks fantastic. I'm picking this up not just because I'm from the hometown of Popeye, but it looks pretty cool. It looks like a lot of fun. And I mean, I don't know. It's just, I guarantee it'd be the first Popeye comic I've bought in years. So I'll have to let you know.
Yeah.
You got to throw out anything from Tomorrow's as well?
I can. You
usually like to.
Well, I got it more than that. I thought
okay.
You guys are running out of gas on me.
Oh no, you say, you talk about as much.
Yeah, it's your show now. Go ahead.
Yeah, we'll just do quick hits here. Okay, first of all, I used to pick up Faith by Valiant Comics.
Yeah.
And the Valiant has somehow survived whatever it was going through, and is Faith. This series is coming back as I don't know if it's a 2-issue series maybe, and she's just one of these characters that doesn't her size, her shape, her demeanor doesn't fit necessarily the superhero archetype. And
it's referred to as
really
body image positive.
Yes, exactly. So I'm picking that up again. Then we have Uncle Tom's Cabin under Classics Illustrated. Hands down, my favorite book written in the 1800s. And I remember reading somewhere that Lincoln even told, when he met the author Harriet Beecher Stowe, that she is the little lady that started this big war. And that's really what it did, because it really brought to the forefront the atrocities of slavery. And it's just such a good book. And I've never read it in comic format. So yes, I'm getting that too. Okay. Then you got Spawn Batman reprint, and this is limited supplies only. Allocations may occur. This is by Lone Star Comics, but this is one of those crossovers that I didn't get, and you guys know I like crossovers, so I'm going to put my name in the hat with my local shop and see if I can get it. Probably won't, but we'll see.
Well, I apologize, Mike, that if I knew that you had wanted this book, I would have held on to one of the many copies of the original that has passed through my hands. So the next time that happens, I will try to remember to set it aside for you in case you don't get this. Because I bet I have in the last 2 years I've had 10 copies of this book.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm not a big Spawn guy, but I do want to. I think I could probably take him in a team up. You know, I could understand him better. But
you don't have my copy.
What's that?
I said you can have my copy. It's in my get rid of pile. You can
really
don't even order one. Yep.
Okay. All right.
And there was also not too long ago they did a okay, yeah, this is a complete lie. This never reprinted prestige format one shot from 1994. They just reprinted this. DC did with both of the Spawn Batmans in like a hardcover.
A sequel on it. Yeah.
Did they? I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're just fibbing.
They are
Fibber McGee's.
I wonder how. Never. Yeah, because it's definitely been reprinted. I wonder if it's Is this just like an original? Oh, so it's a warehouse find. Okay,
Yeah, it's a
okay.
warehouse find.
So
Yeah.
it's a warehouse find of original copies. Okay. All right.
Yes. Yeah. That's why it's limited.
Well.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
and Lone Star Comics, that's my comic shop.
Oh, you're right. It is absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh shoot. I'll be darned.
You know what? That's a deal. I mean, if you can pick up that book for $6, I'm marking it down too. Even though I've had a bunch, if it's I thought it was a reprint, so
I didn't even
realize,
read the part where it said it was a warehouse find.
Yeah, I
And
did
it
not realize that. Yeah,
well,
it'll be tough. That'll be tough to pick up. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'll definitely.
yeah, I buy a lot of stuff from Lone Star from my comic shop.
I wonder why they're not just selling it themselves.
I don't know. That's
That's
kind of weird.
crazy. That's weird that they would just sell on their site.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a big enough draw that they can.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
that means they have to have thousands of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they just they need to get rid of them as quick as possible.
I think they're paying for advertising to more so than, Yeah.
Right, yeah. That's true.
And then lastly, what you prompted me to talk about at the very beginning of this was Tomorrow's, and it's not alter ego, it's not back issue, but it is Comic Book Creator, and it highlights the quintessential 1970s writer/editor Denny O'Neil, and especially because he's a St. Louis native, and I mean he's just known for having such an influence on comics, from Green Lantern, Green Arrow to Batman and to the mod Wonder Woman, that I bet this would be a really interesting issue to read these interviews. And yeah, I think it'll be a good one to add to my collection of not comic books, but books about comic books.
Books about comics.
And that's it.
Yep. Yeah, St. Louis is comic book second city.
That's right. I've actually got that little book that was it's called Second City. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to have a copy of that.
Did you read it?
I don't remember if I read it or not.
Yeah.
But I ended up giving it away. So.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, we have not discussed. Oh, no. Hold on. I almost went to the close, but I guess we need to talk about what we're looking forward to.
Yeah.
So I will actually start this time because it's an easy one for me, and give the two of you a second to think about what you might be looking forward to and if you have any investment picks. But for sure, the book that I'm looking forward to is the Micronauts Volume 2 Omnibus with that awesome Michael Golden cover. So that is an easy pick for me about what I am excited about coming up here in May. So, Shad, do you have something you're particularly looking forward to?
It's the Phantom Menace. No, it's not the Phantom Menace. I'm joking. It is the Nancy Boys #1. Being able to never have read that at all whatsoever, to check that out in comic book form is definitely something I'm excited for.
What about you, Mike? What do you have that you're really excited about coming out in May?
I wish I could say two things.
You can. I'll allow it.
Okay, well, the first one is Marshall Bass. That's something I want to read. I have a burning desire to read it. But the other one, just for collectible reasons, I want that Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow hardcover. I want that on the shelf.
And then investment picks, I'll let the two of you go first because I actually have several that I'm going to mention if you don't mention any of them. So, Mike.
Yeah.
Let me see. You're going to mention. Are you going to mention Titans or are you going to mention Blue Beetle?
Titans.
Which one is it going? Titans. Okay.
Titans.
All right.
Yeah. It doesn't have one of those little blurbs saying new villain or anything, but it does imply that this is the first appearance of this Amazo type character, and it's got all the Titans powers, it looks like. So
they call it Teen Amazo.
Yeah. If this character has the legs that Amazo, or has half the legs that Amazo had, it will be a hit. So I'm choosing Titans #11.
Shad, what about you?
I kind of flagged the that Grommets #1, that one about the kids in the '80s and the punk kind of skate scene. It seems like that if it's a good series, it is ripe for a TV show. It would be an easy pickup for like Amazon to do. Brian Posehn's already tied to it, who is in the industry of movies and TVs, so that one seemed like it would be an easy pickup potentially.
All right. Well, I have a couple, which is good because here for like the last several months, it's like,
Mhm.
man, there's just nothing that I felt like was worth mentioning. But first you have the Western Ain't No Grave from Scotty
Mhm.
Young. I think that has legs. And additionally, I really, really like the look of Beyond the Pale from Dark Horse. That Eldritch horror Vietnam War
Mhm.
story could make for interesting TV. So those both are speaking to me, and I will be picking up multiple copies of those just in case. Well, I don't think we talked about what we were going to do on episode
didn't. No.
180 before we started. So I think I am going to put us on the spot, and
Shoot.
I am going to say that we are in the next episode going to do first 5 Legion of Superheroes.
Okay.
Does that sound okay to you guys?
Sure. Heck
Because
yeah.
that's also stuff that's not in just like a Legion of Superheroes book. It's adventure and several other titles, right, Mike?
The first 5 will probably all be an adventure.
Will all be an adventure, but they're
Yeah.
not all back to back to back, right? Is it 5 straight
Probably
issues?
not.
Okay, that's what
Probably
I was
not.
thinking.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
they did a little switcheroo at some point and put them in Action Comics for a while.
Okay.
But a lot of the first appearances of Legion characters were in like Action Comics 276 or something like that. But okay, that sounds cool. Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so let's do first 5. We'll talk some more details about that, and then we'll just sprinkle in some what we've been reading as well into
right.
that episode. Of course, we'll do some trivia and have a CLZ shake for episode 180. And sorry to steal your thunder there, Shad. I know that's your favorite part of the episode.
That's all right, but
to
I'm
make
glad
that
that you
announcement.
took the realm. Yeah, you took the helm and got it figured out.
And of course, you can email us as a group at podcast@bergcomics.com. Mike, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, where could they do that at?
It's one of the most famous email addresses in the world, m.atchison90@gmail.com. Oh, and Twitter, X, whatever, Mike Atchison 5. Yes.
And do you want to mention, we'll put in a little plug for this after the wrap of this episode, but do you want to mention something new that's going on with your Mike's Comic Shop Roadshow podcast?
Yeah, I did a little thinking over the last few months, and that's always dangerous. But I have several instances over the last couple of years where I either got more than one book recommended, strongly recommended, but they could only choose one, so I bought it anyway because I wanted to support the store. Or there was maybe stores that didn't they couldn't do the interview because they were busy. And I've got probably 6 or 7 books that I've bought that I'd like to read because I got them, and I'd like to cover them as sort of a spinoff to Mike's Comic Shop Roadshow, and it's going to be called The Pit Stop. So it's basically just a break from the interviews, and myself and one of you two guys or someone else that wants to join up for a particular book will review it and talk about it, and we'll have fun doing it. Doggone it.
That's awesome.
And then Shad, if somebody wants to reach out to you.
Oh yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Shad Schubert. That's SHAAD SCHUBERT.
And I am Scott Reed. You can find me at bergcomics.com, BURG comics.com, with links to social media and the eBay store. And on March 17th, 16th, March 16th, I will be at the Southern Indiana Comic Show in Evansville, Indiana. And if you are within 3 or 4 hours of Evansville, Indiana, and are listening to this and are interested in digging through comics, there are 19 comic book dealers that have almost nothing except for comic books. There's very little of the other stuff that you see at pop culture cons. This is a true comic show, and there is everything from Golden Age all the way up to even some modern stuff, but the focus is on the older collectible stuff. Now, one thing that's different this time is the mall. They have like these 3 wings to the mall.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 of the wings have always been for comics. This time they did rent out some space the same day. So the 3rd wing is actually going to have sports cards. So especially if you're a sports cards and comic book person, then you can double dip. I can't really speak to the sports card show, how well it's run, because it's the first time this has happened. But again, our space that we have for the comics is going to be the same. And like I said, 19 comic dealers with almost nothing but comic books. So it's a great show. So
yeah, speaking from experience, Shad and I were there, and there was a lot of good stuff to pick from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a great show.
All right. So we will be back soon with episode 180. All right. So Mike, on.
Hey there, folks. This is Mike from Mike's Comic Shop Roadshow. I wanted to take a moment to thank you all for listening this past year. The Roadshow marked its first anniversary on December 16th, 2022, and it got me thinking about how, or even whether, to mark the occasion. On that note, I was recently approached by a comic shop owner about reviewing something else he strongly recommended. When he made his original recommendation months ago, he had 2 books in mind, and of course only one can make the cut. And then, not long after that, I was at another shop where they didn't have time for an interview. I believe they were sorting a just-purchased large collection of comics, but they were happy to say hi, and I invited them to make a recommendation to me anyway. So, in the spirit of supporting all the comic shops I visit, not just the ones where I do a full interview, I will be sprinkling in episodes where I, and likely a co-host or 2, will review a recommended book. There may not be a shop interview, or there could be a very brief one, but the main part of the episode will be the review. The name I've landed on for these abbreviated intermission type episodes is Roadshow Pit Stops. Corny? Maybe. But a theme is a theme. Gotta stick with it. I have a handful of these in line, and will record the first one in the next month or 2. And don't worry, I still have several comic shop interviews in the bank, and will continue to put them out on at least a monthly basis. This podcast has been a lot of fun for me, and I hope it's been enjoyable for you as well. Thanks again for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Well, I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Comic books in my hands, man. The smell of back-issue pages, man. Comic shops, I've seen my share, man. I've been everywhere.
I read Nice House on the Lake. I read, what was the other thing I've read? I need to start. I gotta start taking better notes. I read Duo. I read Nice House on the Lake.
You're taking my recommendations.
It was. I don't know.
My expectations were so low. I think.
Yeah.
That it was so good compared to that. I just couldn't help but say it. So
I guess my thing was like there was this thing where it's like if one of them kind of lost themselves, the thing was that they were supposed to be gone, right? And I felt like there was like a couple of times where they technically would have had lost themselves, but it's like nothing ever came of that. They just like, I'll be back. And that was like a couple of times.
I blame that on the current state of the industry in that writers don't want to invest the long form story, because there's no guarantee they're going to get to tell that story.
Yeah.
They're trying to tell where I would have if you were a writer / artist, whatever, and you had the publisher say, hey, we're going to give you 3 years to tell a story.
Right.
Then they might have been able to
or
work
if
with
they
that more.
self-published it or something like that.
Or they self-publish it, yeah. And that's what frustrates me, is that you get a lot of this, jam it down your throat without a whole lot of explanation and more questions than answers. And I just finished The Cole, and as much as I loved it, I'm disappointed in the end because you don't even know if it's going to continue, even though it's written to be continued.
Okay. Yeah. I had that down on my list to read too. So
yeah, it's not as good. I mean,
you said it started really strong, but
it did, and the art is unbelievably good. Oh my gosh! But
sounds like a Kieran Gillen book where it like starts off so super strong, and then it like just gets too busy, and then it finishes.
Yeah.
But that was Once in the Future and Die both. It was just like, Once in the Future should have been 10 issues.
Yeah.
The same way with Die should have been 10 issues.